Oh boy, do I got a banger for everyone today. So, there's been a bit of discourse recently over Superman, which is nice for a change because usually it's the, you know, Batman, Batman should kill, Batman shouldn't kill, no kill rule, Batman, whatever, this, prep time, blah blah blah. It's nice to get a bit of discourse about Superman for a change. And it basically all started because Jay Olivia opened his mouth and started kind of complaining to people online. Well, not complaining, he was basically trying to defend his point about Man of Steel and the writing that was done on Man of Steel and all that. So here's a post from DCU the Direct, which says Man of Steel artist Jay Olivia says Henry Cavill's Superman was set to evolve as a fighter in the DCEU. Eventually, I would see Batman training him post Justice League, so he'd be pretty scary by the time he confronts Darkseid. Um, okay, I like the concept. Getting martial arts training from Batman makes a bit of sense. Okay, that's fine. I have no issue with that at all. This was actually said a few years ago as well. We knew this for a while. I don't know why it's coming back up, but it did. Anyway, so there was a few comments around that. So, as you can see here, the words Superman and pretty scary should never be in the same sentence. Jay Olivia is yet another hack who has proven he doesn't understand Superman whatsoever. Okay, good point. Good point. I understand where you're heading with this. And then we have a post from someone called Modern Saviors. And this is a bit long, but bear with me because there's a whole point to this. So, Superman is terrifying. He's a man who wields the power of God. Empathizing with the people of Superman's timeless state, it is important to consider if Superman actually existed in the field of time with us. Superman could land in front of you at any moment without a force in the world that could stop him from getting to you. The slightest glance of his eye could burn right through you. Trembling and without the means to fight him, your only option is to pray that he's merciful. This is only a fraction of the experience of the people that live with him. He could effortlessly topple cities, destroy the planet, or even reverse time. Okay, we are at his mercy. Thankfully, due to his experience of living every stage of life as a man, he uses this immeasurable power to protect us from the horrors of the universe and showing us what a man is capable of at his peak. A being that is capable of inspiring great hope would not be possible without the potential of also inflicting great fear. We're gonna circle back to that later on. The potential for Superman's wrath is too great to not be considered. People pray to God, but also fear him. Okay, all right, okay. I get what you're trying to say, but I would disagree with that because God isn't an entity on this planet. But okay, it is no different for the people of Superman's world when their own private whispers grace the superpowered ears of the being capable of destroying all things, but also the only being capable of saving them. And then we have a few other points like Superman should not be scary to people. You're missing the whole point of the character. I'm not going to talk about if Superman is scary or not. That's not where I wanted to go with the entire conversation today at all. What I wanted to look at is the whole concept of the Superman theory. The whole concept stems from the theory that we are fully evolved, or that we aren't fully evolved and have the potential to evolve more. For example, body traits will be different in a few hundred years, along with life expectancy and other small characteristics. Superman, the character, is that evolution. He is the theory of a superhuman being, and to explain this theory, they made him be an alien who is humanoid and gets powers from our sun as it is different to his own. Superman, as a concept, understands that they might need to hurt people and be selfish. Now, that is the Superman concept, not Superman the character. Greatness for them will be a reform toward pagan values. They will accept suffering as a necessary component of all things. They will understand that they will be hard to understand and grasp from the general public's perspective. Their methods and actions won't always make sense to others, which, it comes in a few different areas, but let's continue. The interesting thing in this is actually Lex, as he would be the embodiment of Superman, the concept, if he was alone in the world we live in. He is closer to the concept of Superman than Superman, the character himself. As if you look at Lex Luthor, he is the smartest man in the world. We see in Superman 2025 that he's an outright genius, but he's a complete maniac, which is, maybe he's not a maniac, not to himself, but he might come across as that to a lot of people. But in his head, his concepts, his actions are they're completely justifiable, because he's like, you don't understand where I'm coming from. I'm working for the greater good here. Stay out of my way. When we then look at Man of Steel versus Superman, we kind of have to admit how polarizing it is to modern day politics. We have the dark, realistic, pessimistic Man of Steel versus the kind, optimistic, fantastical Superman. As a political system, they would represent both the right and the left, respectfully. Nietzsche believed the Superman was a being all humans should strive to become. The issue with modern day interpretations of that concept fall into two categories: the right wing eugenics leader by force, and the left wing diversity communal approach with kindness. Superman and Man of Steel represent two opposing political fantasies, one rooted in collective trust and moral certainty, the other in individualism, suspicion of authority, and justified force. The divide between their fans often mirrors broader left to right ideologies, not because Superman is political, but because he embodies power, and power is always political. Now, why Superman is the perfect political symbol? Well, Superman isn't just a hero, he's an immigrant, a godlike being, a state level weapon, a moral authority, and a symbol of the good old days. Any character with absolute power and moral messaging is going to get politicized, whether creators intended it or not. Superman forces us to answer an uncomfortable question: what should ultimate power look like in a society? So, you have your aesthetic and tone, especially for, Superman 2025. It's got bright colors, a classical score, clean framing. Superman smiles, he reassures everyone by saving them, and violence is minimal and rarely lethal with him. The ideological undercurrent then is this version aligns with a liberal left leaning values, even if unintentionally. Power is benevolent, Superman wants to help, and the public largely trusts him. Institutions can be good, he works with the system and not above it. Moral clarity does also exist. Bad guys are bad, good guys are good, and there's no kind of grim ambiguity about it. And the collective optimism is the world is worth saving as it is, not burning down and rebuilding. This Superman says, I'm here to help, and you don't need to be afraid of me. That kind of maps cleanly onto New Deal liberal optimism, a post World War II American confidence, and belief in societal responsibility. Whereas Man of Steel would be a kind of a right leaning post 9/11 fantasy. The aesthetic and tone is, you got muted colours, it's heavy destruction. Superman is isolated, conflicted, silent, brooding. Violence is a catastrophe and it's often very lethal. The ideological undercurrent is this Superman reflects conservative, right leaning anxieties, especially modern ones. Power is dangerous and feared. The world doesn't trust Superman and maybe shouldn't. The individual over society. Clark's personal struggle matters more than public reassurance. And might makes right. Killing Zod is framed as a tragic but necessary act. The authority through force and not consent here is that Superman earns legitimacy by surviving and winning, not inspiring. This Superman says, I didn't ask for this power, but if I use it, it will be on my terms. And that does resonate really with a post 9/11 security conscious logic, a fear of an unchecked threat, and puts an emphasis on strength, deterrence, and sacrifice. Now, let's slow down a little bit a second. Why are the fandoms split along the political lines? Um, First of all, Superman 2025 has values. It's hope, moral consistency, restraint, institutional trust, and community over the individual. Man of Steel's values are realism, moral ambiguity, personal freedom, strength under pressure, and a distrust of systems or institutions. The fights online aren't really about the movies, they're about, do you believe power should be comforting or intimidating? The irony here is that both sides think they understand Superman. This is the killer insight because left leaning fans say Superman should inspire, not terrify, whereas right leaning fans say Superman should deal with reality, not fairy tales. Both are projecting their worldview onto the same symbol. Superman survives because he's ideologically flexible, not because he's static. Superman doesn't divide us because he's outdated. He divides us because he represents the question we still can't agree on. What should power look like when it claims to be good? And then, the fact that we're still arguing about him is proof that Superman still matters. James Gunn's Superman and Zack Snyder's Man of Steel represent two opposing political fantasies about power. As I said earlier on, one rooted in transparency, cooperation, and moral optimism, the other in individualism, suspicion, and force. The intense divide between fans mirrors broader left right differences. Not because Superman belongs to either side, but because he embodies the ultimate power in a society that no longer agrees on what power should look like. And here's the interesting thing, why does Superman 2025 matter? And if you look at it, unlike the 1978 film, Superman was being released into a time where we have a polarized political climate. There is a lot of deep distrust in institutions. We have a lot of superhero fatigue, and we have online culture wars, which we didn't have back in 2013. Well, we did, but not to the extent that we have them today. James Gunn to me didn't really reboot Superman to be nostalgic. He repositioned him as a counterculture figure in a cynical era. In 2025, optimism itself has been political because you were basically expected to be pessimistic, and if you were optimistic, you were seen as the outcast. You were the weirdo. You were the one that's crazy because you should be, pessimistic about a lot of things. In the end, The fight over Superman isn't really about capes, colours, or even the movies. It's about what we believe power should look like when it claims to be good. Man of Steel imagines a world where power is frightening, um, where safety comes from strength, and where doing the right thing may still leave you with consequences. It may leave cities in ruins. Superman 2025 imagines something quieter, and in some ways more radical. That power can be visible, accountable, and still choose kindness in a world that expects the worst. Neither version exists in a vacuum. They're answers to different fears, born from different moments in time, and the reason fans argue so fiercely over this is because Superman is real quotations, is because they're really arguing about the world itself. Whether it's something that must be endured or something that can still be believed in. Superman endures. Not because he's perfect, but because he forces us to ask an unresolved question. When someone has the power to do anything, what should they do? Until we agree on that, Superman will always be contested. And maybe that's exactly why he still matters.